There are over 71,000 gas stations in the United States. At any given time, about 20% of these gas stations have some kind of environmental problem, a statistic that has remained consistent for over 35 years. There are over 1,300 active Superfund sites in the United States. All of these sites require a substantial amount of ongoing sampling. There are over 900,000 active oil and gas production wells, most of which require at least a minimum amount of environmental monitoring. There are 131 active refineries in the U.S. These refineries require substantial monitoring and sampling. There are over 1,250 active landfills and even more closed landfills, all of which will require monitoring and sampling for decades into the future. There are currently over 12,000 active mines in the United States and growing. Mines are a significant ongoing source of needed sampling and monitoring. On average, there are about 500 pipeline leaks and spills every year. There was 1,164 train derailments just last year, some of which lead to substantial environmental impact. There are over 9.2 million homes that still have lead-containing drinking water pipes. Think the City of Flint water crisis. There are also 16,000 wastewater treatment facilities whose influent and discharges need to be sampled and monitored on a daily basis. There are over 63,000 consulting engineering companies that are providing this type of sampling and monitoring. Combined, they collect over 150 million samples each and every year for a total industry market of over $45 billion and growing. The majority of these projects go on indefinitely, with the average groundwater project lasting for over 10 years. With new significant health hazards being discovered from forever chemicals such as PFAS and microplastics, the sampling and monitoring industry continues to grow and will not begin to shrink in any of our lifetimes. The demand for this type of sampling is driven by regulatory requirements, environmental liability, and peace of mind. Here's the problem. Over 98% of these samples are collected using antiquated pen and paper methods. You see, every environmental sample requires chain of custody documentation. A sample is considered like evidence at a crime scene. The sample bottle labels and chain of custody are currently completed on paper by hand, introducing substantial data entry time, legibility issues, and transcription errors. Then, when the laboratory results are delivered, engineering companies are using inefficient software and processes for completing all the graphics and reports required by law. All of this inefficiency adds up to over $5 billion per year in unnecessary expenses. The SampleServe solution to this paper-based method is a digital solution that completely replaces paper and connects all users with one easy-to-use platform. The platform allows for project scope and sampling details to be easily entered into our mobile field app, which then enables field technicians to collect and transmit all relevant environmental data, including GPS coordinates and photos. The app also allows for QR-coded sample bottle labels to be printed in the field at the time of sampling. These QR-coded labels, in conjunction with SampleServe's patented digital chain of custody, allows the lab to instantly log samples upon arrival, saving significant data entry costs and eliminating transcription errors. After lab analysis is complete, the lab pushes data back to the platform where actionable graphical reports can be generated within seconds. These reports include all the typical graphics required by regulatory agencies: data box maps, groundwater contour maps, ice chemical contour maps, graphs and data tables, all generated and ready for delivery in seconds. I'm Russell Schindler, professional geologist and founder of SampleServe. I started SampleServe in 2001 as a sampling company in response to rule changes on how to collect environmental samples. Basically, these new rules called for more data to be collected during sampling using expensive specialized equipment. We started creating our own software for handling the increased data load and in order to improve our own sampling efficiency. After a while, around 2011 or so, consulting engineering firms began to ask us if they could just use our software to do their own sampling work. We initially said, no, we're not a software company. But after hearing it enough times, we decided to transition SampleServe into a software company. This transition was slow because we were bootstrapping the transition, but in 2018 we started taking on investment capital and we released our first mobile app in 2019. In 2022, we sold off the physical sampling side of the business and now remain solely a software company. SampleServe software reduces the level of effort in every category of work. It simplifies project setup and sample collection, making field staff about 20% more efficient. The biggest savings, however, come from the report preparation. Our software enables the generation of all the graphics required for a typical report in a fraction of the time it took before. On average, our customers are saving between 40% and 60% in costs over the old methodologies. As stated, there are over 150 million environmental samples collected every year at an estimated average price of $8 per sample. This means the total service available market is worth about $1.2 billion a year. If SampleServe could process 2,000 samples per day, or 0.5% of this market, we could generate $6 million a year in annual revenue. Right now we're averaging about 50 samples per day. 5% of the market would mean $60 million a year. The biggest form of competition for SampleServe is the existing engineering companies that still rely on old-fashioned paper documentation and manual methods for creating environmental samples and preparing reports. While there are a few competing products that have data collection applications, none of them offer all the features for sample label printing and chain of custody, or for the most important part, graphics generation. This is where the vast majority of labor, time, and expense is spent when using manual methods. I'm the founder of SampleServe. I'm a professional geologist with 35 years of experience. I founded several environmental companies and hold 7 patents related to groundwater remediation and sampling. Mike Franklin is our lead engineer and leads product development. Mike has a computer engineering degree and has 12 years experience as a software developer. Paul Goodrow leads our sales development and strategy. Paul has substantial experience managing environmental engineering companies and selling to large petroleum energy companies. Josh Paul has a degree in visual communications and over 5 years experience in digital marketing and visual communications. SampleServe has 4 products in market that are generating monthly revenue. Each product facilitates sample collection and reporting, but are customized for maximum efficiency for the users in that particular demographic. Sample ENV is for environmental sampling. Sample Log is for the receipt at the laboratory. Sample H2O is specific to drinking water sampling, and Sample SWR is for sewer sampling for the presence of COVID, flu, monkeypox, etc. In exchange for an equity stake in the company, we're seeking a $2 million investment. Previous equity rounds totaling $2.4 million are detailed here. We will use these funds for customer acquisition and feature and functionality enhancements. With this funding, our target is to get to an average of 2,000 samples per day or $6 million in annual recurring revenue in about 18 months. It's anticipated that an exit with an acquisition will occur within 2 to 6 years. Some of the potential acquiring companies and the industry categories they work in are shown here. Thank you for your time and attention. I can be contacted at the phone number and the email shown here.